Dino Man take on myself, whatever. This is gonna be a long take. So I want to do something for Black History Month. This is something different. I have done this multiple takes. I wanted to make it more like a video essay, but then I was just like, man, oh man, a video essay sounds so fake. It sounds like I'm reading an essay for like. It sounds like I'm reading an essay. It doesn't sound like me. So I think I'm just gonna try to say it like the best way I can say it instead of reading a script, which I realize reading a script is not for me. I think I'm more of a freestyler with notes. So I'm just gonna do that. So I hope you enjoy. So the event I'm talking about is history. Is a Black History event. Is a Black History event. Of course, it's a Black History. I wanted to post this on Black History Month, but unfortunately, it might not come out on the month of Black History, but it was recorded on Black History Month and research was done on Black History Month. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about Black Wall Street, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right. So what is Black Wall Street? Black Wall Street was a term that was coined by Booker T. Washington about affluent black his city in the United States that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Greenwood, and it was considered one of the most, not the maybe one of the most wealthiest black area in the United States of America. We have multiple businesses, high democratic entrepreneurs, crazy, just a wealthy area, and the whole area got destroyed, destroyed in a whole massacre. It was due to by a bunch of angry white mobs. I'm gonna tell you how this event happened, how this land was acquired, and how all of this all came in, and how all of this, how land was acquired and how this happened, basically. So around in the mid 1800s, after the Civil War, a lot of Native Americans were forced to leave their lands in the southeast area. Multiple tribes were forced to, which were forced to migrate to Oklahoma, which we all know this event known as the Trail of Tears, a very sad event. And a lot of them were forced to migrate to Oklahoma to live, and with them came their black slaves. I understand Native Americans had slaves. I know it baffled me too. I didn't even know they had black slaves. But I digress though. A lot of these slaves came with them with the harsh Trail of Tears, and since they were given land in Oklahoma, a lot of these black slaves, due to the Dawes Act, since the black slaves were integrated or important part of the communities, they were also given land as well, which led to and also given their freedom due to the Civil War. So a lot of black men were given land due to the Dawes Act because they were slaves in Native American tribes and were granted freedom. So that's how the land was acquired and was able to exist. Ignore that noise in the background. I apologize. Now, because not just now that Oklahoma, before Oklahoma was its own state, had not just multiple Native American tribes lands. I apologize for that. There was also black free lands, and a lot of black people were seeing Oklahoma as a safe haven. So a lot of them migrated to Oklahoma to live there because they were getting jobs and homes, and they weren't being afraid of being due to segregation or getting lynched. So they all moved to Oklahoma because they considered, like I said previously, a safe haven. But a lot of other people, black people, didn't just see the whole Tulsa area as just a safe haven. They saw it as a business venture, and they went towards there to help build upon their own riches, which led to O.W. Gurley, a man who moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma from Alabama, and he used that opportunity to move there and bought over 40 acres of land to help. He was sorry about that. O.G.W. Gurley was an entrepreneur. He used the land place to help build upon his own business ventures, about over 40 acres of land. And within those lands, he used that to build rooms and homes for Black Americans. He also gave loans for Black Americans to help start their own businesses. He saw Tulsa as an opportunity, as a place for blacks to help build black communities, and not just build a new black communities, but also help black Americans to help build upon themselves into affluence. I hope I said that right. I apologize if that sentence made no sense. But in layman's terms, he saw Tulsa as a way to help build a strong black community and aid black people and when it comes to other ventures of making money. And along with him doing it, others decided to see that and started a copy. Came along a man named J.B. Stratford, who was a lawyer from Kentucky. He saw Tulsa. He saw what Gurley did, and he tried to take that, to have the same idea, to come down to Tulsa to help build more upon this community. Came down there and he invested in real estate, making properties, built the Stanford Hotel, which is one of the largest black-owned hotels at the time. He also helped in creating movie theaters and so on. Another man who went by the name of A.J. Smitherman founded the Tulsa Star. Now, the Tulsa Star was the newspaper at the time, only in Tulsa Greenwood, and the newspaper primarily just talked about normal news stuff that's going around the world, but it also heavily talked about, discriminations among blacks and other races in the U.S. He regularly informed multiple black Americans about their legal rights, and he preached for a lot of black American men to take up arms, especially those who served in World War I. But AJ wasn't just a man who just preached about or newspaper just preaching about eating black people. He also would join up with groups to stop lynching that happened around the South. The man was an activist, and he used his activism, and with building a newspaper, he used it to help spread the word, to help the blacks in North Tulsa, to help them when it comes to help inform them about their rights as people, as themselves, and also preventing, killings from blacks from other areas from the South. Which I said before. Again, you guys know I like to repeat myself on here. Please like, comment, and subscribe to help me with this podcast, because I am broke. I'm a one-man team. Now I digress. With Tulsa having such great stardom around the area for a lot of black Americans, which led to a huge pop in black population in North Tulsa. Now, Tulsa was more than just a black American entrepreneur hotspot. It had large flowing communities, which due to the upflux of multiple black Americans moving there, due to escape, Jim Crow and racial segregation and inequality of the North, just to leave, the United States at that time, which, if you're black and you lived around that time, that was just like, wow. But I digress. And due to the fact that a lot of black people were moving there, just because, not just for business ventures, because, like I said before, of flourishing communities, a lot of black Americans would move to Tulsa because of the education purposes, like the Booker T. Washington High School, which gave a lot of black Americans the right to go to school and help educate themselves at that time. something that was at time, which again, education is a privilege, which is funny how nowadays we don't even see education as a privilege. We just see it as a force of, it's a place we're forced to go, because it's how, I'm not even going to go into that, but I'm continue. I'm just going to stay in my lane here. Yes, Tulsa also had hoods, just like any other part of America, but at least the money in those hoods were helping build the communities. Now, knowing that the big flourish of how Tulsa boomed so much, and you're probably gonna ask, how did it grow so fast? Because was it all the entrepreneurs and all the businesses, all the jobs provided for black people? Well, the reason why Tulsa was such a big booming community was, yes, due to all the black people moving there, but at that time, as time progressed, there was a big oil rush in Tulsa, and a lot of white people moved to Oklahoma and invest in that whole big oil rush. Pardon me. And with that whole big oil rush, it led to them to create railroads, which kept Tulsa North Tulsa separated from the rest of Oklahoma, and a lot of white areas in Tulsa was growing with resentment towards these black areas, because again, a lot of black people went to Tulsa because that was the only way they can actually live. Again, segregation was huge around America at that time, and a lot of blacks couldn't afford homes in any other area outside of Oklahoma, so they were forced to live in Tulsa. Even though they didn't even work in Tulsa, they were still living in Tulsa, buying stuff in Tulsa. So when you have a big enclave, which is nothing but black people, constantly money just flowing in and out nonstop, consistently in one general area where they're forced to only buy from that one general area, they're going to build a lot of wealth when you alienate a group of people from spreading their money into your communities. So just like that, every black person was just putting money into Tulsa, and every black person was just moving into Tulsa, which led to such a high boom in wealth in that general area. Now, Tulsa was also divided. It was North Tulsa and South Tulsa, which North Tulsa was huge, and that's where all the black people lived, and South Tulsa was where all the poor white people lived. This is just a fact, and I'm just stating. Now, even though, ignore that screaming, that he's just excited, he just got told about Black Wall Street. He's like, yeah, no, DeSantis never teaches this, but yeah. With the booming of of Tulsa growing in wealth, North Tulsa growing in wealth, which led to a lot of racial resentment from a lot of white people around. Okay, this isn't racial resentment. I take that back. A bunch of angry white people were mad because they saw a black community growing, and again, segregation was used, and they couldn't baffle or handle the fact that a bunch of blacks were able to make and build money and help create a community. Which is why, again, A.J. Smitherman was very important with the newspaper here. But, yeah. I digress, though. I digress. I have not digressed. This is all same topic. So, after seeing a group of wealthy black people in an area, it led to a lot of racial anger within a lot of the white communities surrounding Tulsa, which, again, Oklahoma was surrounded by a bunch of white people, a bunch of whites, and North Tulsa was surrounded in the north area, or surrounded by a bunch of wealthy white neighborhoods, and then underneath them was a bunch of poor. In South Tulsa was a bunch of poor white people. Even though the community was predominantly black and was run by black people, it was still governed by a white government. So it still had to work under a white democratic system, even though it was a black-owned community area. So just to let you know how that's a precursor to an event that's gonna happen as I continue on. So, in 1921, a young black man named Dick Rowland, a shoe shiner. The man dropped out of high school to become a shoe shiner, and he moved down to the South Tulsa. The reason why he moved down there was because he didn't continue growing his education because he understood that Tulsa was a money booming environment. He knew that he could just go down and shine shoes and he can get like $1 tip. Now I know for all you people here who who probably think $1 is nothing. At that time, $1 was a lot of money. Holy crap, inflation really messed up this country. But $1 took you so far, man. $1 was like what, 10 here? Like what, $1 was a lot of money, okay, at that time. Alright. It's just, again, inflation. He just ruined it. So he took that opportunity to build upon money. And again, he could have been a shoe shiner and he could have went up to North Tulsa and they would have aided him in building loans and how to become his own business. And he could have also became an affluent and lived in affluence and became a black entrepreneur like any other black people who lived in Tulsa. But again, we don't know. So Dick Rowland was a shoe shiner, and when he was about to exit the building, he got inside of a an elevator, and the woman who was running the elevator was a young 17-year-old girl named Sarah Page. Now, they said, there was multiple instances, stories of what happened in the elevator. Someone says that he fell on top of the woman. Some people said that he assaulted the woman, which is something they were saying that he tried to assault the woman at the time. And some say he stepped on her toes. We don't fully know the context of the situation of the story. We just know that all we know was this. He got in the elevator, the woman started screaming, and just like any sensible black person did at that time, he ran away. And you're probably saying, why would you run? If you're not guilty, you wouldn't have run. I literally just said earlier that they were lynching black people, and there was a bunch of racial anger about a bunch of black people being successful in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in North Tulsa. There was no, of course he's gonna run away. I would have ran away too. We all would have ran away. All of that. At that time, if you would have just stayed there and tried to defend your case, you would have been lynched or killed on the poppet trees. So he ran like any sensible black person would at that time, and the cops and the sheriff went up to him. Now there was rumors being spread around this, the white neighborhoods that they're gonna lynch this man because he actually assaulted this white woman. So when that rumor spread, a bunch of the black Tulsans, again, I told you about AJ Smith and men about how they, all black people bear arms. I told you the precursor, all this comes in tides, came down there at the sheriff department protesting to protect this man from getting killed. And on that time, a bunch of white people came in and they said they wanted the boy and asked the sheriff for the boy. And a lot of the black men said no. And some words were being exchanged, a lot of slurs, and there was gunshots fired. There was a big racket. There was a huge number of white people in South Tulsa. So after a bunch of the white people came in with an army, a bunch of the black men who were there to defend them all decided, hey, let's just get out of here and let's do a tactical retreat back to North Tulsa, as they did. And as that happened, again, that was the flame to start the bomb. A bunch of white mobs came in and attacked and destroyed the entire area. This whole destruction terrorist attacked a bunch of these white mobs, which were all racist, came in, burned down, shot up the area, destroyed all thousands of businesses, injuring multiple people, killing, which was, I was told, around 300s. There was bodies, which they had to bury all of them under the poppet trees, and that's what I was told, allegedly. But a lot of people were murdered, a lot of businesses were destroyed. Now that there was a rumor saying that a lot of them flew in with planes and dropped like nitroglycerin and like gas to help expand the fire. This destroyed the entire area of North Tulsa, literally destroying a bunch of wealthy black businesses and homes and generations of family. Just destroyed the entire area. And after that whole area was destroyed, this event, and also when the destruction was going on, this lasted 2 days. This was a 2-day event, literally destroying an entire community. And because of that event, a lot of black people just didn't want to come back to Tulsa. After that, a lot of them said we're never coming back to Tulsa, and they all left. Some decided to stay. But before we continue on the whole staying aspect, a lot of the black people who were in Tulsa at the time were trying to rebuild. The government of the area put Tulsa under martial law because he said that he didn't trust the black people. So there was a bunch of military came in to watch over the area because they were for 6 months because they hadn't trust what the black people were going to do, and they thought they were going to try to attack all the white neighborhoods, not knowing that you have thousands of injured black people and hundreds of them were killed. And honestly, we should thank the Red Cross for taking care of all of them. Now, after those 6 months, a lot of them decided to come back and try to rebuild, which they actually somewhat succeeded. A lot of them lived in tents, and a lot of them stayed, and a lot of them, had tent homes to slowly rebuild. And at the time when they were doing the whole rebuild process, the government in the district wasn't trying to help them at all. When the whole city got destroyed, they wanted they had a $5 million insurance, which they wanted back so they can help rebuild, which if today was time, it'll be $5 billion. So the insurance didn't want to do anything about it. They didn't want to give them any of that money. Thank God there was a lawyer at the time who aided in some of the black people there to help give them the rights to rebuild some of their fallen businesses. Now, did it all come back to the same? No, none of it came back the same. Actually, it was. I know I've seen multiple documentaries about this where they try to make it seem like the rebuild was great, it was cringe, how they came back, and then they have North Tulsa, which still exists. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. That rebuild was a fail, and this is just a fact. Look, let me tell you how the rebuild was a total fail. Number one, when they were rebuilding the entire area, they only managed to rebuild small pockets of area in the northern area back. They couldn't, not the whole north, part of the north, the tip of the north. They couldn't rebuild that entire grand community again. They couldn't do that when they rebuilt. They only brought up certain roads. Number two, during the 1960s, they said that, oh man, we feel apologetic. Let's go back down and rebuild Tulsa, which was basically a campaign, which was basically, again, a whistleblower word to say, let's just all go up telling the white Southerners, the white Southern Tulsans, to, hey, look, this is free land, and they're not giving it back to the black people. Let's just take it as our own, and let's rebuild our own businesses and everything up in that area. And that's what they did, and they just took over some of the rest of the parts of Tulsa that they couldn't even get, that most of the black people couldn't get. Number two, and this is another fail of the rebuild. They took down multiple homes to redo a whole regentrification of the area because of the whole rapid crime rate of North Tulsa, and they put highways in like other areas. Like they literally broke down homes to put highways. So now the whole area of North Tulsa, which was historically, which was part of history, is like a small pocket, which is literally a hood. It's now hood. And it's surrounded by a completely new, different city that's all run by white people. That rebuild was terrible. And the worst part about it was, during that whole refurbishing of that entire area, they never wanted to talk about the event until modern time. when it was becoming popularized. So I know you watch all these documentaries to try to give you hope that it grew back. Guys, it didn't grow back. It was a failure. And also, and this is another food for thought, Dick Rowland never got prosecuted for anything. The woman never proceeded into pressing charges, so he got off scot-free. It's almost as if they're planning to get this. They're using some. It was almost as if I'm no conspiracy theory, and you know how you guys all know how much I hate conspiracy theory. But sometimes I apologize for that. You know, he's excited because he's probably like, "Oh, this seems like a theory." He speaks his language. You don't understand him. But I'm no conspiracy theory. But all this seems a little suspicious. How they destroyed a whole environment. They try to prevent their regrowth of rebuilding the lands. They didn't give them back their loans to help rebuild. A lot of them decided we're just going to leave the area. And also, they regentrified they took over most of the area of the black neighborhoods. And then after that, put highways inside and literally destroying homes and put highways, making the area smaller and making it into a hood. They literally made it into a hood. This rebuild was terrible and it was a fail, and it literally, basically, they just got rid of an affluent black community in America. All these documentaries you might find online trying to make it all grand and how, like, the rebuild was great and it was one of the best to come back. It wasn't the best. It was terrible. It was a fail. A comeback would be like you came back the same, if not better. And they didn't come back at all, nowhere near to that. Fail, rebuild, and that's sad. But what is the importance of this? Why am I educating you on this? You're probably asking. Is it just to shit on? Is this just to slander white people? No, none of that. Honestly, that's not the reason why it was there. It was created. Not created. The reason why I decided to make this video, make it part of Black History. This whole video was here. Ignore that background noise. She's just like, no, don't tell the truth. Yes, but we speak the truth here. I don't know why liars lie, but we tell the truth here. The point of this was to inform people about an event, which literally is a terrorist event in U.S. history, one of the greatest terrorist events in U.S. history, which we never talk about, which is something it's grand. And I wanted to talk about this because just like anything in history, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And from what I'm seeing, the word, there's been a lot of, whistleblower terms being used in modern day media, which is destroying some affluent black communities. And I think that I'm starting to think that if we don't educate people on something like this, then we're going to see destruction. We might see us repeat something like this happening again. And you're like, what is an affluent black community? Like Atlanta? No, not Atlanta. Atlanta's not an affluent black community. Atlanta's weird. Like, I know you guys don't know this, but I understand that DC has a lot of crime, but the most richest and affluent black community in the U.S. is DC. That's literally the classiest, richest, affluent area of the U.S. is in DC, as long as with one of the poorest areas as well. You don't believe me? There's a lot of rich black people live in DC. It's crazy. There's a lot of rich people live in DC, man. DC got money. I mean, also got a lot of poor people there, but there's also money too. And maybe if I don't get into that. Look, there's a lot of areas like DC, and I don't want DC to become just all the rich black people there just like lose all their wealth and become, and the hood of DC spreads to those affluent areas. And also, we don't want to keep promoting this hatred that we're having towards black people, because there's a lot of self-hating, black people here that's involving like coonish activities, who obviously just hate being black. I don't want to make this like a thing, like a black soapbox. But yeah, man, I think this is one of those important moments in history that has to be talked about. it's important due to the fact, like I said before, you have to learn history unless we're repeating ourselves. And also, this isn't just a race thing. This was also a terrorist attack on a bunch of angry people on another group of people. And we need to talk about this because it was also a terrorist attack as well. One of the greatest one of the greatest terrorist attacks in U.S. history as well. So yeah, that's the reason why I want to talk about it. Kind of like this version of mine's better because the other versions were kind of horrendous, and it was 30 minutes. Yeah, I like this version better. I basically just rambled and just told you guys everything in my quick synopsis. You guys could look up more about Black Wall Street. Something that I think a lot of people need to learn. And okay, yeah. I think I'll just look up. I mean, I have nothing else to say after this. I didn't even know if I want to make this like a podcast episode or not. And this is not coming out on Black History Month because I know you guys are upset because you heard that. Yo, please ignore the noise in the background. But yeah, I keep saying yeah a lot, but that's it. That's the end of my podcast. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys learned something about this because this took a lot of research. There was more I wanted to put in, but then this video would have taken a long time. And editing is going to take me, forever. Because, yeah, I'm going to try to get this as soon as possible. So, yeah, I guess my next one will be a combat. I don't know if you guys know what my next one is. All right, ciao.